The Serbian capital, Belgrade, and talk to Serbian-Canadian film director and producer Boris Malagurski. Boris, hi, thanks for being on the programme. You've made films about the Western role in the Balkans. You know that area extremely well. How do you assess what NATO's currently doing in northern Kosovo, then?
Well, KFOR is acting as a force to further NATO's goals in the province of Kosovo. And this is something that is just a continuation of their policies for the last 10 years. The Serbs who remain in Kosovo are there living in horrible conditions, basically living in a ghetto. And they have been there, and their presence there is a form of silent protest against what is happening there, as they do not want to leave their homeland. They want to stay where they are and stay in the country in which they were born and which they believe is theirs. What is happening right now is something that is very extraordinary, and the Serbs there are saying no to the West and their attempts to further their goals there. They're in peaceful protesting against what NATO has planned for Kosovo. And if this was happening in a country where NATO and the West supports the regime of that country, they will be hailing the Serbs as freedom fighters and fighters for human rights. Of course, because the West does support the government in Pristina. After all, they installed them there. They are criminalizing in a way these Serbs and demonizing them once again. And presenting them as criminals, people who want to make a profit out of all this, while the West is, in fact, those who want to make a profit out of imposing, customs over there.
But Boris, I guess the counter-argument, the worry is, without any peacekeepers, the Serbs and the Kosovans will go for each other's throats, surely, won't they?
Well, first of all, to make such an assessment is a very linear approach, and we have to go much deeper than that. But I don't want to go too much into the causes of the Kosovo War. The Serbs and Albanians there have lived together for decades and for even centuries. The West has aided one group in the separatist war that was fought during the 1990s, and that group has prevailed. And at this point, they have no intention of being a balanced force in this whole conflict, as they, and by they I mean the West, obviously supports only one side. So if they want to be peacekeepers, then they should act like peacekeepers and be neutral and balanced. Of course, KFOR is not doing that, and they are supporting their own interests, of course, which go in sync with Kosovo-Albanian interests.
Okay, that's the big picture. Let's focus back in on this kind of news event now, these blockades that are causing the problems. Where's it going to go? The peace talks haven't worked. Where's this going to go? Will those blockades be removed by any side? What's going to happen?
Well, I think the Serbs have no intention of giving up, because they're fighting, as I've said before, for their bare existence. If they give up now, then they've lost everything. And I would like to see some more support, at least from the government of Serbia, and the government is basically saying that they're just hoping that somebody will come from the side and fix the problem. I personally believe that the government and everybody who is in the government should go down there and sit down with the Serbs in their province and show support that way, not just sit in Belgrade and basically just talk. So I would like to see some more support by the government of Serbia. I would like to see a show of support by the people of Serbia, who can go there and support their fellow citizens. I think the West at this point is unwilling to try to find a compromising solution. They just want to, further their interests at any cost. And if they're met with no resistance, then I'm afraid they will succeed. But once again, I'm an optimist. I think that the solution is to be found in the peaceful resolution. People have to show their disagreement with what's going on, and if the people here are united, they will have the human rights that they deserve.
The big picture, do you ever foresee a day when Serbs will ever accept the independence of Kosovo?
I think the Serbs as a nation will never accept Kosovo's independence. There are some people within the Serbian people who accept this as a reality and accept it as something that has to be done. Unfortunately, people like that do tend to have a lot of influence simply because they're very easily supported by the West. But I think the average Serbian citizen will never accept Kosovo's independence simply because, not only because of historical interest, but because this has been done in a way that it has been contrary to international law. It has been contrary to any moral code that the West tries to promote, after all. So I think the Serbs there in Kosovo and Serbs who claim that Kosovo is a part of Serbia are simply promoting European values. And I mean true European values, not the ones that the European Union is trying to force upon the Serbian people. So I think fighting for human rights in Kosovo and fighting for international law when it comes to Kosovo is a very real Western value, and I hope that the West will slowly realize it, and I hope the people of the Western world and the world altogether will realize just in what situation the Serbs are and how much they need the help of decent people to achieve their rights.
Okay, thanks for being on the programme. Live from Belgrade, there's Serbian-Canadian film director and producer Boris Malagurski.